Hey guys, welcome back to LittleLee and Rose. I'm Summer Noel and I am going to show you how to do a perfect glitter ombre on your cup. We are going to do a true ombre from light to dark all the way up. That is actually what a true ombre is when it just fades lightly from one color to another through multiple colors from lighter to darker. So we're going to start with these four colors. So as you can see in the cups, they just slowly get darker until we get to the bright pink from the white. We're going to do that on this cup. I've already prepped this cup. I've taped it off because I'm going to have an untaped bottom. And then I've sanded it, washed it, and spray painted it white. If you've never prepped a tumbler before or a cup, jump back up on my my YouTube channel and scroll back and you will see a how to prep your cup tumbler tutorial, and that will bring you up to speed here. So this is a stainless steel cup that I have prepped with and gotten ready to do this application. So for today, you're gonna need the glitter selection that you choose. You don't have to do pink. You can choose whatever colors you want. I'm doing pink because, well, frankly, I love pink. You need an epoxy. So I have part A and part B here. I use an FDA compliant epoxy resin because you're gonna be putting your mouth on this cup. So you wanna make sure it's FDA compliant. There are lots of resins out there. Probably 75% of them are not FDA compliant because they're used for things with automotive or boat or uses like that. So they are not necessarily up to standards for FDA compliance. So make sure yours is. You want a pair of nitrile gloves. Nitrile gloves are very important if you're working with epoxy because the chemicals of the epoxy will not go through. You need your mixing cup, a popsicle stick. Up here I've got my drying rack, my chemical mask, and some parchment paper. So this is going to be very simple. I'm going to be doing this with the application of epoxy. I'm going to do the hang method. If you've never seen the hang method done, again, jump back on my channel, scroll through until you see hang method and watch that video. It'll show you the technique of hang method because I will be doing it on high speed today. So I'm not going to be walking through every little detail of that because most of the people watching my channel already know what it is. So if you don't know, go back and check that video out and that'll bring you up to speed there as well. You can do this with Mod Podge. I just personally like the epoxy better because I think I get better coverage with the glitter. It grabs onto more glitter so you don't have to do more layers. With Mod Podge, sometimes you have to do a second layer to get the good coverage. Now I am starting with a white-based paint cup, white-based spray painted cup. But you can kind of do what you want. You'll see in my more advanced tutorials, I use colors underneath these to really make colors pop. But this is going to be a basics tutorial with just the advance of being 4 colors instead of 2. All right, so I'm going to jump in. I'm going to get my epoxy mixed. If you've never mixed epoxy, check your manufacturer, but most of them are mixed equal parts, A and B. So I'm going to get that mixed up. We are going to get this cup going on hang method, and I'm going to get a layer of hang method epoxy put on this cup. All right, here we go. Okay guys, we have this cup completely covered in epoxy. I'm still wearing my chemical mask because the epoxy is still having its chemical reaction and it will still be releasing vapors. So you always want to make sure you're wearing your mask while the epoxy is wet. So I'm going to sound like I'm breathing a little bit like Darth Vader, and I'm going to be talking a little louder than normal, and I have the mic as close to the chemical mask as I can, so make sure you guys can hear me as best as I can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down this parchment paper underneath. It's going to grab the glitter that falls off and it's going to collect. I pre-fold in the middle so that it's easy to fold it up and then slide it in. The reason I'm using parchment paper is glitter doesn't really stick to parchment paper as well as much as it does regular paper. So it'll help me just conserve more of my glitter. Now I'm going to be doing, this is going to be a glow white. So I want that at the top just so it kind of looks like when the lights turn off, it's going to actually almost look like to me, well, how I interpret it is like stars shimmering and then kind of falling down the cup. So I'm going to start with my dark color, and you'll need a little spoon. I have 2-year-olds everywhere in my house, so I have a bunch of these. This is what I use as my spoon. But you can use any tiny little spoon. They actually sell spoons that are specifically for scooping glitter. So you can grab one of those if you need to. But I just grabbed this out of my drawer to work because it's my kids' stuff. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to bring in your dark color, because I'm going to start from the bottom, and you're going to use your spoon to scoop the glitter and pour it on the bottom. So I don't know how everybody else is doing the ombres. I've actually never watched an ombre video. I just saw some ombre cups
and decided I was going to try it, and I made this method up for myself. So what I do is I first just add the color in a thick line around the bottom. Okay, and then I add a little more glitter and I shimmy the cup down a little bit. So I add a little glitter and then I shimmy the cup. And I add a little glitter and I shimmy the cup. And I add a little glitter and I shimmy the cup. Okay. Okay, that's pretty well shimmied. Okay, so I'm going to stick the cup on the drying rack. Well, my hand's a little big. Ding. Okay, to avoid mass glitter mess, I'm going to go ahead and pour this one, take the spoon out. And then see, you can just take the parchment paper and you can see how easy it falls off that paper. So I'm going to put that one to the side with that color. Then I'm going to grab the next piece of parchment paper. Okay. Then your next layer, you're going to shimmy the opposite way. Let me line this, there you go, a little better. So you're gonna pour your glitter and shimmy down, and tap your glitter and shimmy down. Okay. Now, if you don't want the bottom to be as much pink, you would do this exactly the same way. You would pour just the original line that I did, and then you would shimmy it instead of adding extra. But I knew I wanted the main color on this cup to be the bright pink. Should have mentioned that in the beginning. Because this customer specifically wanted some really nice bright pink. So then I just shimmy it down. And shimmy it down. So you can already see where that's really starting to ombre. Okay, now you're going to go the opposite way, but you're going to pour this up higher. You're not going to start, you don't want to start your line here because then your whole cup will only be basically two colors. So you go here and shimmy just a little. Oops, I missed it. I'm doing this with my left hand. I'm actually used to doing it the other way, backwards. So shimmy the other way. Just a little bit. You don't want to get too aggressive, and that's why I'm starting the glitter farther back. You just want to kind of get a little soft line. Just be patient with it. All good things come with time. All right. Okay, so we got that one pretty good. Okay. Same thing. And get that parchment paper off to the side. Get your next parchment paper. Make sure your spoon is clean. And then your glitter. Now, as we're going lighter and lighter, you can start and be more aggressive on top of each other. The darker color is the one you have to be the most careful with. So there we go. We're going to drop it on that line and just shimmy. Drop it on that line and shimmy. Drop it on that line and shimmy. Okay. All right, I'm probably going to get asked questions about this drying rack. So if you guys are interested in this drying rack, I just released a tutorial on how to make it at home. It's super duper duper easy. So I made a very quick tutorial and I put a supply list so it's easy to buy the supplies. It's very inexpensive. All right, so now we are working onto the glow light. Okay, we're going to bring that out. This is a glow powder white. Make sure my spoon is pretty clean. And this one we're just going to finish off the top and shimmy it down. Look at the top and shimmy it down. At the top, shimmy it down. Oops, got some glitter inside. Shimmy it down. Shimmy. All right, that looks pretty decent. Okay, now I'm going to show you what to do in the middle. Here we go. So put that back on there. So usually the hardest blends are where it goes from a light color to a dark color. So I'm going to show you what I do to fix that problem. I mean, it blends really, really well, so you could technically call this cup done here, because it does, and under epoxy this is going to look amazing, but I'm a perfectionist. There we go, bring that camera in, so you see it already looks like a beautiful, beautiful ombre, but the hardest part is this, where you go from a darker color to the next lighter color. So I'm going to show you guys how to problem solve that and troubleshoot that. Let me clean up just a little bit and reset. So we're back. I've got the color to go on that is going to go in between there. I still have my chemical mask on, so I'm still going to sound a little muffled. But what you're going to do is you're going to take, I always do it in these separate little cups. I buy these at the Dollar Tree. There's like 12 in a pack. And I use these for all my blends that I do when I do an ombre. So what this is it's about 4 to 1. So I've got 4, let's say tablespoons, 4 tablespoons of this and 1 tablespoon of this. It's not that much. Well, let's say teaspoons. 4 teaspoons of this and 1 teaspoon of this. The reason I do that is because there's already a dominant amount of pink on there. And the pink is the hardest part to get, the dark pink is the hardest part to get ombre. So you actually want to blend that line with more light than you do dark. So then what I do with this is I just tap it on the line and just kind of let it sit. And then you can just tap it just a little bit and then shake it off. So you can see it blends that line really well. Sometimes you can just do 2 layers of the shimmying effect and it does the same thing, but I find this just to be a little faster because I don't want to have to do a second layer of glitter because then you got to wait for the epoxy to dry. But you can see, because we used epoxy, not Mod Podge, how much more grip it has. And so when you add that extra on top, it still will hold on because the epoxy has really good grip to it. Looks like we need one more little spot here and then it will be done. All right, so there you go. Oh, one little spot right there. Okay, there you go. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful ombre. And it doesn't just go from one color to the next. It's 1, 2, 3, and 4 colors. Now, what I'm going to do is go through and actually sprinkle some of the glow in the dark down kind of through the middle, that you won't really even see it because it's white. It'll just kind of sprinkle in there and just so it'll look like the stars are dripping down. All right, I'm going to reset for that, guys. All right, we're back. Here we go. I'm going to move the drying rack out of the way. And we are just going to just tap, tap, tap. This is just kind of trying to get some of this glitter to sprinkle in between. I don't want a lot, that's why I'm just moving it quick. And I don't want it to affect the ombre in any way. Perfect. It's going to look exactly the same, but I just wanted you guys to see. I just kind of smashed it out around, and I'm not going to tap it anywhere because I don't want to cover up the actual ombre. Because this really light pink is very subtle, which it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a very subtle blend into this white, and it is, and it's perfect. So I don't want to cover that up. All right, so at this point, I'm going to let this cure for probably about 9 hours, and then I'm going to put it on my tumbler turner and do a layer of epoxy on top of it, and that will be our sealant. Now, if you've never worked with epoxy before and it makes you a little nervous, you can do the base paint with regular Mod Podge, do the same technique as I just showed you, and then you can use dishwasher safe Mod Podge over the top instead of epoxy. Now, it will not have the smooth, glassy surface like epoxy does, and that's why everyone prefers epoxy. But if you're intimidated to do that, you can use the Mod Podge dishwasher safe. It will just have a more rough feel to it, and it takes, I think, 72 days to cure before you can put it in the dishwasher. So you basically have to make this cup, stick it on a shelf, and forget about it for 3 months if you use Mod Podge. So that's why I highly recommend just jumping in, diving down that rabbit hole of epoxy. Join my Facebook group, guys. If you've never worked with epoxy, we have a lot of support over there. We answer a lot of questions. It's a whole community of people who do these. It's super duper fun. We play a lot of games and get really involved. So I'm going to go and let this cure, and we'll be back with the epoxy version.
All right, guys, so one little thing I forgot to mention, and I know there's a lot of newbies watching these, and I don't want to throw you off. So what you want to do now is remove this tape immediately. You don't want the epoxy to cure with this tape on the cup because it will actually epoxy the tape down, and it will make a total mess of your cup. So I just wanted to make sure you guys saw that. I will clean the bottom. This has got some spray paint on it. It's super easy to clean off with acetone at the end of the whole process. So now it's going to cure just like this with no tape on it. All right, we'll be back. All right, everybody, here we go. All right, so this cup has been curing. It cured probably about 24 hours, actually, because I just didn't get a chance to get back to it. Family stuff called me away. But we are going to jump back in, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I keep admiring it from afar as it was curing, and we had some people come over, and they were all staring at it like, this is a beautiful cup. So I'm pretty proud of this one. It's gorgeous. I love pink, so, I mean, I couldn't go wrong. All right, so for this stage, we've got to apply epoxy on it. If you haven't worked with epoxy, it's pretty easy. It sounds really, really intimidating, and it's very, very scary to jump in and do your first one. But ultimately, it's a quick sliding scale. It's scary to jump off the mountain, but once you're having fun going down the mountain and you realize how awesome it is, it's so great. And so what you're going to do is you're going to check your manufacturer from your epoxy first. Make sure your epoxy is FDA compliant and food safe. Then you have an A and a B. Some of them are 2-to-1 ratio for mixing. This one is a 1-to-1. So that's pretty easy. Then you need a popsicle stick, a mixing cup. I'm going to use this nice silicone brush for my application. And these are great. These are reusable. These are easy to clean because epoxy doesn't stick to silicone. So I have a silicone mat down to catch any drips. You need a torch to pop bubbles and your chemical vapor mask. You need to wear a chemical vapor mask. This is not shown in videos enough. You need to be wearing this. This stuff is very volatile for your lungs to breathe this in as it's processing. Once it's cured, there's no issue. There's no problems. The chemical reaction that happens only happens while it's still wet. Once it's cured, that is all gone. And it's safe to put this on your hands and your mouth and to have it around you and your kids. But while it's processing, you need to wear a mask. So I will always wear a mask. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on so we can, I'm going to hook it onto my face and we're going to start mixing and get this epoxy going. I'm going to hook my microphone right up. Sorry, it might sound a little scratchy. I'm going to hook it right up to my mask so you guys can hear me as best as possible. Okay, so you're going to mix equal parts A and B, and then you're just going to apply it on the cup and make sure it's coating the whole cup. If you get it on the black, it's fine. This is just tape. We're going to pull it off. If it goes over the lip, that's fine. You can clean that out later. So just get it on there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to apply it from the top to the bottom in the beginning. And that way, if there is any contamination of glitter, it's the white going down to the light, not the dark going up. Because this will contaminate this faster and easier than the light will contaminate the dark. So the light going down won't be as noticeable if the glitter moves. I have not sprayed this cup with spray paint. It won't move too much when you do it with the hang method epoxy. You'll still have a little bit of glitter move, but not a lot. So I am going to switch you guys over to the high speed to watch me apply.
guys, we're back, and what you saw me do was apply the epoxy. I tried to apply in the white area first, then into the middle, and then into the bottom, and then just kind of make sure the epoxy blended in the middle. Some of the darker glitter got up here and contaminated. It's fine, but there was a few that were like extra dark pieces. So at the very end, you saw me just going through and just touching my finger and picking up those little dark pieces. Now, they're fine. I'm just being OCD about having a perfect cup. But this cup looks absolutely stunning. I'm very, very happy with it. This brush is very helpful in the application. I had to mix extra epoxy because I didn't make enough in the beginning. I never make one cup at a time. So I haven't mixed enough epoxy for just one cup for a very, very long time. So I didn't mix enough. But what we're going to do is I'm going to pull the tape. So I just finished epoxying this. It's been about 30 seconds. I literally stopped epoxying it and turned the camera on with you guys. And you want to take that tape off right away. The reason you do that, and there's a big question about this, and I guess asked all the time. The reason I remove it right away is because that is when the epoxy is nice and loose. So when I remove it, I'm not pulling tendrils of it. If you let this set up at all, you're going to get, you can see how clean that line is. It is very, very, very clean. If you let this sit for 45 minutes, an hour, a couple hours, and then you pull it, that epoxy on there has actually started attaching itself to that tape. So when you pull it, you're dragging the epoxy with it, and you're going to get epoxy down in this line. And that is why I pull it immediately. There's a little bit, oh, there's a little bit there, but I can clean that off. Okay, so you can see these little bits. That's where the tape met, and there was a seam. So a little bit of epoxy goes onto that, but what I do with that is I heat up an X-Acto knife and I cut through it, and then I pop it off. It's really, really easy to clean off. But you can see how clean that line is from pulling the tape right away. So if you see someone saying, oh, I wait 30 minutes, I wait 45 minutes, I wait an hour, don't do that. Just listen to me. Listen to Summer. Remove it right away. If you forget and you do get that messiness down the bottom, you can take an X-Acto knife, heat it up really, really hot with your torch, and actually cut through it. Now, the reason you don't want to just cut through it regular without heating it up is because if you're forcing it through, there's a chance that it's going to break the seal on this epoxy between the epoxy and the glitter in the cup. So by heating it up, it cuts through kind of like butter. You want to get it really, really hot. And I always keep a paper towel. As I was pulling off those glitters, I was wiping my finger over here. So that's my little tip, is always keep a paper towel sitting around. Now I have extra epoxy, but I actually have 2 hang methods that I have to do. So I'm saving that for that instead of just pouring it on here and letting it drip all over. I'm just saving it because I'm going to use it. So now we're going to torch it. This thing is great. This is cheap. I'll put the links to all the tools I use in the drop-down menu, you guys, so you guys can easily shop. I've price shopped for you guys and found some good deals. There's a little spot right there. Okay, I babysit my cups. So, and now we're just going to heat this up. What this is going to do is it's going to help the epoxy loosen up and move into the spots that might be thinner or thicker. And it's also going to pop bubbles. So there's a big bubble right there, but it will pop any of the micro bubbles. So even on glitter cups like this, you can't see the micro bubbles, but they are there, and they will give you texture on the surface of your cup, so you won't get that glass if you don't pop the bubbles. So even on glitter cups where you can't really see them, I mean, that one's a big one, so it's very obvious, but the little ones, you want to still go for it. So I get my torch going. It's a white flame or blue flame, so it's really hot, and you got to move very quickly. If you pause, you will burn your epoxy, and it will get a hard clump, and it will look really weird on your cup. It definitely stands out. All right, so we just went over that big bubble, and it popped right away. You can actually see when you're in person. I'm pretty sure it's not going to show on camera, but you can see the little bubbles popping, even though I couldn't physically see them. But once they're popping, I can see it. All right, so this cup is probably going to take 2 coats. So we're going to let this coat cure for about 6 hours, and then we'll take it off, let it sit on the drying rack. I'll probably let it sit on the drying rack for about 12 hours. Then I'll retape it. So no, sorry, another 6 hours. So 6 hours on the turner, 6 hours on the drying rack. Then I'll retape it and I'll do the process over again. All right, guys, we will be back with the finished product.
So here she is. She's all beautiful. This has 2 coats over the top of the glitter. It's super duper smooth. It's like glass, and you can see it just is a nice blend all the way up because of those extra colors that make it very, very soft. And I'm gonna do a quick show you guys how to clean the bottom and edges and inside of your cup, because I'm getting a lot of questions about that. It's usually something I do in post-production, but I will do it on this cup really quick. I wear a nitrile glove just to protect my beautiful fingernails. You don't have to, I guess. This is gonna be acetone. The only time I use acetone is when I'm not going to be actually physically touching the epoxy. You don't wanna mess with the epoxy. The acetone will start breaking down the bonds of your epoxy. So I had some spray paint on the bottom from when I originally base painted it, but I wasn't worried about it because I knew I was just gonna rub it off with a touch of acetone. Again, this is just on the bottom, whereas some of the spray paint had gotten down here when I did the base coat. All right, so I just wipe that off. Careful not to touch any of the epoxy. Then I do the same thing. I go to the inside, and any paint or spray paint that was in there, I just go along the inside. I use double-sided tape on my footballs just to ensure that they won't fall off. And so I go down in the cup to remove that double-sided tape. Sometimes there's some residue from the stickiness. So I just go down through the inside. All right, so I'm pretty clean with my epoxy. I very rarely now get it inside. I wasn't intending to do a repair cup. Otherwise, I probably would have been a little sloppier, just to give you an example of what it looks like to remove the epoxy. Let me see. Well, there's not much here. So then I take an X-Acto knife. I get these, I buy a bunch of these from the dollar store. I use these for my cleaning up my cup edges. And so see, I'm just going along and just gently doing like a sawing up and down motion and catching any of this maybe like really thin epoxy that maybe got up here along the edge. There's not much. Yeah, this one there's just nothing here, guys. Sorry, this is not a good one to show you, but you can see the technique that I use. I just slide along. If I hit a big glob, I just carefully try to do an up and down sawing motion like this through it. If it's doesn't want to come, you don't want to force it, because if you force through it, what you're going to do is you're going to lift it and you're going to break the seal along here from the cup. There's a little bit right there. And you don't want to break the seal, guys, because then you have to start the cup all over. So you just want to kind of gently go. But if you get a big glob and you can't force through it because you don't want to, and the sawing motion, gentle sawing motion isn't working, take your torch. Don't have my torch over here. So let's say this is my torch, and just go psst, psst, very, like 1, maybe 2 times, and only hit that drip. Don't go on the outside of the cup. Go only on the inside and heat it up just a touch. And then go back through, and it should get, because it'll get soft, and it should be a lot easier to cut through. But again, don't force anything. If it feels like you're pushing too hard, just leave it. Maybe add a little bit more heat, or get a piece of sandpaper. You can also take a piece of 220 grit if you want this even cleaner, and gently sand across the top edge. Again, everything you do on this top edge, do very gently so that you don't accidentally remove the seal from between these two. Sorry guys, we out in the country, and I have the windows open today because it's a beautiful day out. So you're gonna hear some background noise. And then along the bottom, here, move this out of the way. So along the bottom, when I tape off, sometimes where the seam is, it's very small, but there's one right there where the seam of the tape meets the tape. It leaves these little marks where the epoxy gets in, and I just gently press with my X-Acto knife and scrape it out. Now, if that was a bigger piece, you want to press, 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 press. Don't do one firm rush through it, again, because that will pop the seal. You just got to be very, very gentle on the way that you press. Here's another one from when I retaped it. So gently pressing, that's when I'm rocking back and forth. But this is really thin, so it's not going to affect the seal on the other side because it's cutting through super duper easy. The harder it is to cut through, the more likely you are going to break that seal between this side and the cup. So that's why I'm saying when you get a big drip, you can do the same thing with a torch, is block this maybe with duct tape and just gently hit this part with the heat of the torch and cut through it, or just again do a little press and then a little press and just slowly work your way through it, and then put the tip of your X-Acto knife underneath it and pop it off once you've got it separated. All right guys, so that was just a quickie. That wasn't a big cup, so maybe on my next tutorial I'll try to be messier. But you can see how absolutely gorgeous this ombre is. It's like the perfect ombre from dark into the light. And let me see. I'm going to turn off all the lights, guys. I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you the glow effect. All right. So give me just a second. We'll be back. All right. There she is, guys. A beautiful, perfect ombre. This look is really easy to achieve when you're using like the 4 colors and you're just going, you're helping it blend. Instead of trying to blend 2 colors together, you're just slowly blending and going a little lighter and a little lighter. I believe this one works because the light pink is so close to the white that it really, really just softens that line going all the way into the white. But you can do this with any colors, greens, blues, whites, oranges, whatever. You just want to do it with complementing colors that go from darker to lighter. So this one was actually kind of a peachy color, but it works and looks beautiful on this cup. Sorry, my hands are very messy. I've been doing lots of tutorials today. So this one is considered perfect. I was going to hopefully show you guys how to clean the rim, but I was a very clean artist today and I didn't get anything on the inside. So this cup is done. You can put any kind of decal on it or just leave it as is. It's absolutely beautiful. So I will probably leave it as is. I do have an order for somebody, a close friend of mine who wants hot pink on their cup. So I will probably show this to her. Maybe this is the cup she'll end up wanting with her decal. But I hope you guys learned something. I hope this was helpful. I'm really trying to do a bunch of different ombre tutorials for you guys to show you all the different techniques and ways to do it, because I know that one way works for one person and may not work for another. So keep your eye out. I will be posting other ombre tutorials. And if you learned something awesome and you like the video, give us a thumbs up. If you want to keep seeing videos from me and staying up to date, subscribe and then ring that bell. Like, check the bell. You'll get notifications when I launch new YouTubes. I am posting one probably almost every day or every other day. So I am staying really on top of these videos for you guys. You're absorbing everything I'm putting out there. I'm loving seeing your creations on my Facebook page and answering all your questions and coaching you guys through some cups and working on some fixes and tips and tricks and hacks with you guys. So I'm loving it. And we just gave away another prize in our group today. Super fun. It's like our little Tumbler family. It is super duper fun over there. So come join us on Facebook. Anyway, guys, this is the end of this tutorial. I hope you guys learned something and you're able to put this to work and make some gorgeous cups for yourself or for your shop. And let's keep Tumbler making. See you guys on the next tutorial. Bye, guys.